Hello everybody and welcome back to Principles of Game Design. In this module we're going to be moving on from Maya for a little change of pace and going to the Epic Games Unreal Engine portion of the course. Unreal Engine is a real-time rendering video game engine that is well known for its hyper-realistic graphics. It's also well known for being the engine used to create Fortnite, God of War Ragnarok, and Black Myth Wukong, as well as various television shows and films such as The Mandalorian, and its uses extend into architecture, simulation, and more. So, to get us started using Unreal Engine, I highly encourage all of you to begin by creating an Epic Games account. There are various ways of doing so, and I trust that all of you will be able to do it just fine. Once you've created an Epic Games account and downloaded the Epic Games Store, which is this app over here, we can proceed to launch Unreal. If you're on one of the lab computers, you should already have a version of Unreal installed, which you can access from the Unreal Engine Library tab. On my personal computer, I have several versions of Unreal. For our purposes, I will be using 5.2, but please be aware that that might not be the version that you are using in the class this semester. Double check with your professors which version of Unreal Engine is right for you. Now, if you have created an Epic Games account and you are on a home computer, then you'll be able to install the engine version you'd like by simply clicking this little yellow plus button. And this will give you a drop-down list with all of Unreal's past versions. Find the one that you are using in class this semester, select it, and go ahead and install it. That'll take a few hours. Now, the best way to launch Unreal Engine is by clicking one of these launch buttons here inside of the Epic Games Store app. You'll notice that if I come down to my search bar and look for Unreal, it doesn't appear. Instead, it simply takes me to the Epic Games Launcher, which is this window we already have open. If these buttons aren't working for you, you can also find Unreal Engine inside of your program files. So your PC, your C drive, the program files, Epic Games, your chosen version of Unreal, the engine, the binaries, the Windows 64 folder, and you'll find the Unreal Editor application in here, and you can simply double-click that to launch the program. Now, once you've gone ahead and opened up Unreal, you'll be presented with the Unreal Project Browser, which in my case shows me all of the previous projects that I've worked on this computer. But for our purposes, since we are making our first ever Unreal project, I'm going to go over to the Games tab, which is where we'll be making projects. Now, Unreal provides us a couple of packs for us to get started, and for the purposes of this class, we will be focusing on the first and third person packs. You're more than welcome to experiment with the rest at your leisure. Once I have selected third person, I need to go ahead and double check some settings. First, I want to make sure that this blueprint section is lit up. That'll help us when we are coding later down the line. I also want to make sure that our target platform is desktop and not mobile. And then I want to check this quality preset, which by default is set to maximum. That's probably alright if you're on one of the lab computers, but if you're on a personal home computer, then you might want to change your quality settings to scalable. Lastly, I want to make sure that ray tracing is off and that starter content is on. Starter content will give us a bunch of default assets that we're going to be using here in our first module in Unreal. Now we need to double check our project location, and you'll notice that by default it's saving it to my C drive. As a reminder, saving things to your C drive is bad if you're on one of the lab computers, so we're going to go ahead and pop this open and take us out of our documents folder. We're going to go down to my external drive, pop open my Principles of Game Design folder, right click, make a new folder, name this Unreal Projects, pop in there and hit select. And now I have my external drive Unreal Projects folder. Now I'm going to name my project. You are more than welcome to leave it as my project, but I'm going to go ahead and name this a intro to Unreal. Now the reason I'm using underscores is because if I add a space, it'll tell me that that is not allowed. So, one more time, Intro to Unreal, and I'm going to click Create. and it's going to take some time to create the project, so I'll come back as soon as that's done. Alright, we've successfully loaded into Unreal, so let's go ahead and talk about what we're seeing. First off, in the top right is the name of our current project, and in the top left is the name of the current level. Note that the level says third person map or third person template. That's because we chose third person when we were selecting our packs for our project. Over here on the right of our viewport, we have the outliner, very similar to the one we have in Maya, which lets us select the things we have in the level. Then just underneath the outliner we have our details panel, which serves as a combination channel box. We have our location, rotation, and scale, and our attribute editor, where we can change materials and various settings about our current selection. To move around in our viewport, all you really need is the mouse. If you hold the left click, then you will be able to rotate side to side and push in and back. Middle click will allow you to pan side to side, and the scroll wheel will allow you to zoom in and out. And then holding the right click will allow you to get a full 360-degree rotation. However, my preferred way of navigating the Unreal viewport is by holding the right click button and using the W, A, S, and D keys to pilot the camera around, as if I were in a creative mode in a popular game like Minecraft or Fortnite. In addition to all of those keys, we also have a camera speed setting over here in the top right of our viewport, where I can crank the camera speed up or down depending on how fast I want to move my camera. So I currently have it set to 8, and now I'm moving quite a bit faster. Change your settings however you wish. I'm going to leave it at 1 for now. We also have in the top right this little grid, which gives us our split orthographic views. By default, our orthographic views are in wireframes in Unreal, but you can go ahead and click this little wireframe thing and change it to lit or unlit. Note that lit sometimes doesn't work in the orthographic views, so I usually like to keep mine on unlit or wireframe. If your wireframes are out in the middle of nowhere, simply select an object in the perspective view, go into your orthographic view, and hit F. And that'll recenter all of your cameras on your current selection. If you want to maximize one of these orthographic views, you can simply click the little button in the top right of the viewport, and it'll swap to that main window. If you are a fan of the other layouts that we might have had in Maya, Unreal actually has a greater variety. If I pop open this far left drop-down, there's a Layouts tab, which shows me a varied list of layouts that we can use to pop our grid into. And then we can simply click this button to snap back to those other perspectives. As mentioned previously, on the left side of our viewport we have controls for our current camera, as well as our current view mode. By default we are set to lit, but we can also change that to an unlit mode, or a wireframe mode. Note that in Unreal, all of your polygons will become triangles, and it can be difficult to keep track of what's what, because we can't put specific objects into a wireframe mode. So let's go ahead and swap that back to lit. And we also have this show button. Show allows us to hide specific things inside of our level. So for instance, all of the objects in this level are called static meshes. We'll be going over that again later. But if I turn off static meshes, you'll notice that all of the objects disappear. In addition to that, I have this little blue sky, which is underneath the fog tab. If I turn off fog, then the sky goes dark. I also have these clouds up top. We can go ahead and hide the atmosphere and the clouds, and those will also disappear. Let's pop all of those back on real quick. There we go. Now unfortunately Unreal has crashed on me, and this is, a bare bones level, so let this be a lesson to all of you to save your work often. Alright, back where we left off. If I click this little green play button, I'll spawn a character which I can control by clicking into the viewport, and use my mouse to move the camera, and my WASD keys and spacebar to jump to control this character and playtest my level. To get out of the playtest mode, all I have to do is hit the escape key, or Alt-Tab and hit the little red stop button. Next on the list is our content browser and our UI layout. So, let's start by hitting the Control and Space keys, and this will pop up my content browser. If you're not a fan of keyboard shortcuts, you can also find the content browser at the bottom left of the Unreal layout. Notice that it says Content Drawer, or inside of the Windows tab if you go to Content Browser and click any of these. But for my case, I like hitting Control Space and popping this up. Now what the content browser is it's a collection of folders with all of the assets we can put inside of our level. So for instance, since we chose the starter content package, if I pop open this folder, we have a bunch of stuff to get us started. So let's go ahead and pop open this architecture folder, and here's a bunch of walls and pillars. Let's go ahead and drag one into the level, and there it is. But you'll notice that my content drawer disappears. Same thing happens if I open up my content drawer and just click anywhere else, it goes away. If you'd like for that not to happen, over here in the far right of the content browser is this Dock and Layout tab, which if you click that, will pop your content browser permanently underneath your viewport. In addition to that, you can go ahead and actually drag any of these tabs wherever you'd like, and snap them in the window wherever you want. So if you want a more Maya-like experience, you can move your outliner over here and have your details panel as your channel box and attribute editor over here on the right. And once you have your layout however you'd like, maybe you like a free floating content browser, you can then go up to the Window tab and save your layout as a file which will automatically load the next time you open up the project. Or you can reload the default editor layout to snap everything back to how it is by default. On to the next thing to talk about in this video is how to save our files. So if I go up to File, you'll notice that I have two important settings: Save Current Level and Save All. Save Current Level just saves what's visible in the viewport. So if I go ahead and click that, we'll get a very quick save message, and this level is now saved. However, if I go and close the project, you'll notice that I get this pop-up asking me to save my pillar file. That's because by adding it to my level, I've accidentally changed something about it, and you'll notice that inside of my content browser, I have this little asterisk. I can go ahead and pop open this pillar file and save it individually, and that'll go ahead and fix up that asterisk. Notice that it's no longer visible. Or I can simply go to File Save All, and that'll take care of all of my files. So now that we've gone ahead and saved our project, I'm going to go ahead and close Unreal, and we're going to talk about the quickest ways to reopen our project. So I'm going to go ahead and close this, and if we look inside of our Epic Games tab, underneath our engine versions inside of our library window, we have My Projects. And if we pay close attention, right here I have my Intro to Unreal project, which I could double click and open. Alternatively, inside of my File Explorer, I have that Unreal Projects folder that we made earlier. Inside of here we have our Intro to Unreal project, and inside of that we have this blue Intro to Unreal engine project file. I can go ahead and double click that, and that will automatically pull up Unreal without having to care about the Epic Game Store at all and reopen our project. That's going to do it for this video. In the next one, we're going to go a little bit more into detail about adding stuff to our level.